Hello and welcome to Crossing the Alameda, the podcast where we reconnect with the Santa Clara University class of 1991. We hear the stories of who we were back then and who we've become since. Every episode is a chance to catch up with a classmate, share a few Santa Clara memories, and find out where life has taken them since graduation. I'm Charles, and today I'm joined by the full Crossing the Alameda crew. We have Mike in London.
Hello, everyone.
And Carrie is with us in Portland.
Thrilled to be here.
And AJ is over in Sonoma.
Hey, what's up?
All right. So we've got a great show today. It's a special Mardi Gras edition in honor of our guest. So AJ, please take it away.
Charles, thank you so much. I am so excited to introduce our next guest. He is my personal gateway drug to the Pelican State. Our good friend, straight out of southwestern Louisiana, Jon Berthelot. Jon came to Santa Clara from New Orleans, and he still calls Louisiana home. At SCU, who is an English major and a renowned Swig Hall resident of the infamous fourth floor, and eventually served as an RA. So, Jon spent a little time on campus. These days, he's the director of admissions at the Episcopal School of Acadiana, a pre-K through 12 independent school in Southwest Louisiana. He and his wife, Sarah, have raised two brilliant and beautiful children, Dom and Isabel, and he's built a long career in education. But one of my favorite things that's not in his LinkedIn bio is that he may or may not have moved around Harry Connick Jr.'s piano as a young man. I'm thrilled to have
that
this
is a
man on the
fact.
show.
I'll tell you that later.
Straight out of Jesuit, straight out of Metairie. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Happy Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras season's kicking off with one of the finest people I know. Jon, am I get this right? Laissez le bon temps rouler, as they say. Berthelot, welcome
That
to
is
Crossing
real
the
close.
Alameda.
I love it. I love it, AJ. That's very well done. Laissez les bon temps rouler. Let the good times roll. And this podcast is certainly full of good times. So thank y'all for that. It's great to see you all here.
Good job, AJ.
I forget he speaks French.
we
Oh my gosh. I get to start. Yay. So along with so many, I have very vivid memories of you. So let's go back to freshman year. When you picture yourself on that fourth floor of Swig, what scenes or moments come to mind first?
Man, it was such a great part of my existence out there. I remember just about every single face. And so when I picture myself on fourth floor, that long hallway, it wasn't necessarily in somebody's room. We were always just gathering somewhere. And so I picture this long hallway, people yelling down the hall, "Are you there?" And people throwing. We used to throw the Frisbee, Ted Hashke and I, to see if we could throw the Frisbee from one very end of the hallway all the way to the other without hitting the wall. But there's so many fun memories. We hung out in the RA's room. We wandered in and out of each other's rooms. And then when we weren't doing that, we were going to the cafeteria to have more fun and visit over there. So it's hard to pinpoint one thing, but fourth floor Swig means a lot to me.
Oh, that's amazing. So you are an English major, as the AJ already announced. And then, that usually means lots of books, some good ideas, professors, and some long talks. But what stands out for you? Was there a particular class or a moment that you just thought, this is it?
Yeah, I loved what I studied over there. I'm sure you all remember me as a scholar. That's your number one memory of me. But
Of course.
yeah, for me, English major was a mixture of things. And so the writing, learning how to write, the specific teachers, and I will name them in just a minute, the classes that I took. Everything is just such great memories of that. I would say because of Santa Clara, that's why I'm fluent in English. So I'm so glad that I studied over there. But no, seriously, the professors for me, Mike, like Corey Wade taught me a couple of classes, the history of the English language and Old English stuff, Beowulf, things like that. Richard Osberg, who taught me the Canterbury Tales. I'm a nerd in some ways. And so when it comes to literature, I like the old British Anglo-Saxon, medieval English literature. And I know that's not everybody's game, but the classes for me were those kinds of things, you know, kind of my niche. For writing, I mean, Susan Frisbee, that was her name, by the way.
Good for her.
When a guy from Louisiana moves to California in freshman year, his teacher's name is Frisbee, you know, you're just trying to figure out what's going on in the world. But very clear memories of her, God rest her soul, helping me understand how to become a better writer and get into the specifics of the language. So yeah, lots of good things. You know, I studied it because I loved it. I hadn't of being a professor of English kind of thing. You know, there was a time when I would have told you, I'm going for a PhD and I'm going to be a professor of English literature. And I certainly had a great run with it. But when I was out there, I just studied it because it was fun. And I was mixing it with history classes, old history, ancient history, Roman and ancient Greeks with Bill Greenwalt. Did y'all ever have Bill Greenwalt with history? Teachers and classes and classmates are very strong memories for me. I kept in touch and still keep in touch with a couple of English professors. Some of them have passed away. You know, I wrote did y'all know Richard Osberg? Anybody have
Yes.
Dick Osberg okay. So when he died, I wrote a long letter to his wife and just shared
Mhm.
some memories and some things that influenced me seriously as a teacher. Like after I graduated and moved back to Louisiana and I'm in a classroom, some of the things I did with students, I did because I had Richard Osberg for Canterbury Tale. And so memories like that, that's why Santa Clara is so deep in my brain. And it's just, it's a wonderful, wonderful chance to recollect and tell stories. Really good.
That's awesome. You talked about channeling Professor Osberg. Are there, of the other professors you mentioned, are there things that you find yourself thinking of today from what they taught you then?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Corey Wade, who taught, again, that Beowulf class, to this day, I deliver a lecture to students at the school where I work, preparing them before they read Beowulf. I don't teach the class. I just go in one day and deliver a lecture to get them ready. So yeah, things that professors did for me, with me, are strong in my memory. And I brought a lot of that into my life and yeah, so that is definitely a fact. And the residence halls, I mean, seriously, I think y'all know this. Residence halls for me was a big part of everybody's freshman year, but then what you did after that was kind of up to you. And for me, residence halls was a big part of my identity at Santa Clara. The work in the residence halls, the RA job, the working with students. And so when I left California and came back to Louisiana, I continued doing that. My first job was in the dorms, running a certain section of the dorms at the university here locally. And I stayed with that for 12 years and then got into pre-K through 12 education. But the idea of working with people, visiting, listening, telling stories, playing games, letting them be canaille, you know, well, y'all don't know that word. Canaille just means mischievous, right? So just knowing that kids are kids, you know? So, I mean, a lot of the residence hall experience was a big two for me. You know, I went from fourth floor Swig. I moved over to Dunn sophomore year. Elix and I were still roommates. And then after that, I did two more tours in Swig. So I have 3 years of Swig under
I
my
know.
belt and loved every minute of it. And so I was lucky to have experiences and memories with people in our class for sure, but the two classes under us, the students that lived on my floor, the students that I knew from my residence hall time, there's just so much out there in Santa Clara that that's why I love walking back on campus. I've been known to go knock on a door where I used to live and ask those freshmen if I could just look at the room. They think you're a total creep when you do that. But it's awesome. It's awesome.
Depends on which floor you go to. If you're
That's
going to
true.
a girls' floor, it probably would be weird.
Hey, is my memory serving? I just want to kind of go back to how nerdy kind of you are. Is my memory serving me that you didn't you go to the celebration of the Magna Carta? Am I right on that?
Yes, you are. Look, that's so funny. It's so funny, AJ. And a lot of it, you know, my mother worked for United Airlines for 41 years. And so she still has travel privileges. And what you're remembering was the 800-year anniversary of the Magna Carta, which we all know was signed in 1215. My mother calls me and she says, hey, what are you doing? And I forget the date, March of whatever, 2015. And I said, I think I'm free. I learned that's what I always say to my mom when she says, what are you doing on this date? And so my son Dominic and I flew over with my mom to celebrate the 800th anniversary of the Magna Carta. We
Wow.
saw the original document. We were in Lincolnshire. It's such a great trip. But yes, your memory is correct.
Amazing.
Hey,
Just
how
down the
did
road
you
from me.
how did you end up at Santa Clara? Just out of curiosity, you kind of covered some of the. My question was already covered, which I love, which was, hey, becoming an RA. How did that make you? How did you take what you learned to
Yeah.
your role? Like, thank you. How did you end up in Santa Clara? Just curious.
Yeah. So, I mean, I went to Jesuit High School in New Orleans, and when I started looking at colleges, I wanted to see the world. So I applied to East Coast colleges and West Coast colleges, and that was it. And it was funny because I clearly remember the day my parents seeing the list of 5 schools that I applied to. The closest one was 3,000 miles away or whatever. And I remember mom and dad, they gave me the old, "Is everything all right? Are you okay?" And so, I knew that I was able to travel because mom was with the airlines. So that wasn't a big deal. I could go anywhere. And, I wanted to go to a small liberal arts school. And so, Yale and Dartmouth really wanted me to go to Santa Clara. And so when I found out I was going out to the West Coast, it was just a great, a great experience for me. But that's how I looked at liberal arts schools in Santa Clara on the Jesuit list. I thought I'll give that a shot. And I've never been out there. One of my favorite stories. I got so many, y'all, and I know I can ramble, so cut me off when needed. But once I was accepted and knew that I was going to Santa Clara, I went out for a visit. And so I stayed a night in Swig with a theater guy. His name was Mike Freeman. And so I'm sitting in his room. He and his roommate are in there, and we're just shooting the breeze, right? I'm nervous. I don't know anybody, and California is different. And both of them, Mike was from San Francisco, and I forget where the other guy was. I forget who he was. And so we're talking, and y'all remember Swig, the 2 closets on the sides and the shelves in the middle of the closet. Well, they had a few canned goods on the shelves. And so I'm trying to make conversation. I said, just like this. "So is that y'all's pantry?" And Mike Freeman looked at me, kind of frowned. He said, "What's a y'all's pantry?" And so I quickly learned that this was going to be a cultural experience. So now I realize I should have said, "Is that you guys' cupboard?"
Yeah.
But it was a cultural thing. I wanted to experience something new. I knew that I would eventually wind up back in Louisiana where my family is. It's great. That's how I wound up selecting Santa Clara and going out there. It was good.
Amazing. Oh my gosh, you're a cultural experience. That's awesome. So you already said you might go peer into a dorm room, but if you had one day back on campus, which you will in the fall, what's the very first place you like to go when you go on campus?
Yeah, I do like to walk the route that I did so many times from Swig to Benson to the halls, the academic buildings, through Mission Gardens. I love Mission
Yeah.
Gardens, just the beauty of it.
Yeah.
I don't think we take it for granted, but that's such a beautiful space. The
Yeah.
roses, the wisteria. I love walking under the wisteria, the old adobe wall, all that stuff. So, just walking around campus for me is awesome. And then, specific spots. I mean, I'll go to 11th floor Swig and look out the window just because I remember how that view looked. And then in around the campus, Togo's, I don't even know if it's still there, had many a
Oh, yeah.
sandwich there. And just the various places. Of course, you'll go to the Hut and you'll go to Lord John's and you go where those places were. And I would go even the Hungry Hound. They used to have a little video game on the counter, Home Run Derby. I can't tell you how many quarters I put in that thing playing Home Run Derby at Hungry Hound. It's just too funny. But just being back on the campus and seeing how it's changed. I remember crossing the Alameda, having to wait for the cars and running across and all that stuff. So y'all picked the right name for the podcast. But there's several places, the Levy Pool, which I have stories about, and just all the fun places we could go. That's what I like, is just revisiting.
I have to say, is anyone keeping a list? Because he's saying Hungry Hound. Yesterday, someone said Mountain Mike's. Like all these things that are coming up that I hadn't thought of. Anyway, thank you.
And look, hey, I'll add another one, Carrie, to the list. Rarely did I have enough money to do it, but when I was able to get off campus and go to Marie Callender's,
Oh, yeah.
what a fantastic! For me, coffee cake at Hobbies and Marie Callender's rhubarb pie. It's funny that these are memories from college, right? But yeah, my list can get longer.
Oh my gosh.
Of course, there's Denny's, Jack in the
Hobbies.
Box.
Shout out Hobbies.
Yeah, Hobbies is
Awesome.
Mm.
What about playing shuffleboard at TG's? Did we all do that, or was that just me and a small crew?
I did that.
I
Yeah.
did that.
Spitznagel used to give me shuffleboard lessons at TG's. Put him on your podcast list.
He is on my list. I was going to reach out to him.
Oh, he'd be amazing, man.
So, yeah, you talked about a lot of travel around the campus and you would obviously the spots you would visit. Was there a regular study spot for you, or is there a spot you would call home besides Swig, 3 years of Swig?
Yeah. So, I mean, as an RA, I did a lot of study stuff in my room, but I did go to the library. I liked the library. I studied in the library. We would have little study groups in the library. And what I remember, I don't know if it was unique to Santa Clara, but for me, it was new and I thought it was neat. Remember when you walked into the library, as you went through the turnstile, you could put a note for somebody? Do y'all remember that? You could put their name on a thing.
Yes.
I always thought that was like I don't know, that's a small school thing. You know, they don't do that at University of Michigan, I'm sure. But I just love the idea of the library and how it was. So yeah, study spot for me, Mike, once a year was probably library.
Brilliant.
Awesome. So we often talk about how once we graduated, we had certain expectations of what we thought was going to happen, or maybe some of us thought we had it all figured out, and then things took a complete left turn. Did you have an experience like that where something that you thought or expected after graduation was completely different?
Yeah, I would say so. Like I told you, I enjoyed what I studied. And so when I left Santa Clara, I went to grad school. And so I came to the Lafayette, Louisiana area for the local university. At the time, it was University of Southwestern Louisiana. Now it's the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, the Raging Cajuns. And so I came for grad school. And I would have told you at that time, I was on this path to PhD, English, whatever. And so I got the job in the dorms just to make some money. And man, believe me, I made a lot of money. $15,000 a year. But anyway, I got the job, and next thing I knew, I was doing more of the job stuff than I was the classes. So the academic program, grad school program, was going to take longer, but I was fine with it because I was working, you know, and loving the work that I was doing in student affairs. And then the part that I guess I could say it surprised me, but it just seemed so natural, was that became the focus. And so my work in student affairs became the full-time job. And then, you know, I met my wife in a dorm. And so Sarah and I was running a group of dorms and working in student affairs. And Sarah was a residence hall director. The university allowed students to do that. It wasn't a full-time adult position, but my wife was very mature. So anyway, I met Sarah in the dorm, and that made a different path too. You know, once you start dating the person, you realize, wow, this is good. Then that changes everything too. And so we got married in '97, and I continued working in student affairs. And I wouldn't have been able to tell you as I was leaving Santa Clara that was going to be the path. But it's an awesome path. So yeah, that's how I would answer that question, Charles.
Agreed.
Things happen. You know, things
Yeah.
happen. Yeah.
And you adapt. Yeah. You roll with it. Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, Earthquake 89, you may have been an RA in Swig, maybe, or maybe you were not. But where were you, and what do you remember most about that day? Because, you know, I don't think the land rolls in Louisiana as much as it does out here. So tell us about that fall of '89 shaker, October 17th.
Yeah. AJ, that is so true. So true. So, you know that in Louisiana, we have hurricanes. Carrie can back me up on this. And the thing about a hurricane is they tell you, 2 weeks out, hey, you may want to think about this. And then 10 days out, ooh, you might want to go start shopping, get some food. And then, a week out, you kind of know what's going to happen, right? So when it comes to earthquakes, a Louisiana guy in an earthquake is going to remember it, right? So AJ, in that October of 1989, I was on the first floor of Swig, and I remember I was getting ready to go to dinner. It was around dinner time, wasn't it?
5 o'clock.
Yeah, because I was getting ready.
5:17.
Yeah, I was getting ready to walk out of first floor Swig and go to dinner. And so I was standing not far outside my doorway, heading toward the lobby. And I'm not exaggerating, y'all know this. As the earthquake happened, I'm watching the floor of Swig. I am watching it roll like this. I'm not exaggerating. And there was a guy on the floor who was in the bathroom, and I heard him screaming. And I looked out the window because I was walking back to my room once it started moving. I had been told you get in the doorway, right? So I walked to my room, and as I looked out of my first floor room, Mike Zareski, does anybody remember Mike Zareski?
I don't.
Mike Zareski was a freshman who lived on my floor. He's standing in the quad outside of Swig, holding his hair, looking at the building, scared to death. So that's my memory. I know exactly where I was.
Wow.
And the funny thing, God, this is so good. I mean, when I tell you minutes after it happened, my phone rings in my room. And I answer the phone, and it's a friend of mine from New Orleans, Gordy Rush, by the way, who was an LSU football player. He's a big LSU guy. Gordy Rush called me and said, "Hey, I just saw on the news that this earthquake happened. It's supposed to be close to you." And I'm like, "Gordy?" And then that evening, I don't know how the phones lasted as long as they did, but that evening my mother called me, and she had already looked into Tulane about me transferring because we're not going to be doing this earthquake thing. We're not going to do it. I mean, look, so very, very clear memories. Y'all will recall there were tremors when we were freshmen, and there was an aftershock, whatever. So you would feel an earthquake, but it's a 2-second deal, and you turn to your roommate, did that just happen, or did someone slam a door? And it was all those little things. So this one in October, that big one, of course, was the real deal and scary. I have very vivid memories of it, as I'm sure y'all do too.
I want to just name your mom LaVon, because even though I don't know her as well as AJ, we've talked about how legendary she is. And I do love that I got to call you when my son was a freshman at Tulane and say, should I be worried about this hurricane coming? You said, we're not moving LaVon. So
Look,
I was
that's
like,
true.
you're fine, Peter.
And look, Carrie, I'll apologize to you again, as I've done before. When Carrie called me as Hurricane, it was Ida, right? Hurricane
Yeah,
Ida.
it was Ida.
Yeah, as Hurricane Ida was coming toward New Orleans, Carrie called me and said, "Should I be worried?" And I said, "Oh no, you got nothing to worry about it. It'll be some rain, and people will freak out, and the news people do whatever." Because I'm thinking, since Katrina, we'll never see that again, right?
Right.
Well,
yeah.
with Ida, it was pretty bad, and the dorms, and they had to bus your son somewhere, and the power was out, and the RAs ran away. And, I apologize, Carrie. Forgive me. I missed that one.
Don't, because you know what? That internal experience bonded those people. They bonded for life. Like, they're friends for life. So it was great. You were right. He was fine. Oh my gosh. Okay. I get to bring us into the now. Another fun way that our paths sort of crossed was when I was studying education in Tennessee. I was in grad school and meeting people who also knew Jon Berthelot in the world of education is legendary. So tell us a little bit about that, like what brought you into this job. And you must love it because you've been doing it a while and they must love you there. Tell us about like these career twists and turns.
Yeah. I'm lucky. I really am blessed, and I admit that all the time. I'm very grateful for it. So my job at the university in student affairs was with the dean of students office, and the vice president for student affairs, who were friends but became very dear friends. They were the parents of people I knew, and lots of connections. And so when I left the university in 2001, I did so to take a job as the dean of students at an independent school. And I mean, it's pre-K through 12. It's an Episcopal school, 500 students total, roughly. And so it was a different environment. But I chose to work at a school like that because we had just had a son, and I was thinking down the road, looking for good education in the area. It's a very good school that I work at now. And so I started in 2001 as the dean of students to continue some teaching. I taught a public speaking class, obviously. I helped with English stuff and quiz bowl moderator. And I still, to this day, I'm the one on the microphone announcing the batters and the substitutions in the basketball games and all that kind of stuff. So education has a lot of opportunities that are not in your job description, where you can have fun and work with students and serve people. So I did the dean of students gig for 8 or 9 years, and then I moved over to admissions. So my job these days, y'all tell me if this fits me. I meet people, I talk to them, I give them tours, I ask them questions, I listen to what they need, I write them letters, I send them emails, I call them on the phone, and I schmooze with them every chance I get. And I love their kids. So that's how I stayed in
amazing.
education. it just, it feels right. It's good. It's an academic environment. And so there's a lot of, what are you reading now? And let's talk about this current event and let's give you a movie recommendation, whatever. And so there's just a lot of connect. I like connecting people and I like sharing and listening to people. So the work in education seemed, you know, natural. And a lot of it, again, I'm not just blowing smoke when I say what you do as an RA, what I learned from giving programs as an RA, from walking door to door and just saying how are things going. I mean, yeah, there's times when you confront stuff. You knock on the door and say, "Hey, turn down your radio," right? But when you're not confronting anything, you're just saying, "Hey, who are you? I haven't met you yet. Where are you from? What's your story?" And so I took all that from Santa Clara and continued it in residence hall experience elsewhere and education. That's just what it's about. You gotta, if you don't like people, you don't belong in education. And it just has worked out wonderfully for me.
That's awesome.
No.
That's amazing. Yeah, I could see that's yeah. I
Yeah,
see you in that
and the
role.
opportunity, both of my kids went to the school where I work. And so they graduated from there. And so the opportunity, the blessing of being able to, experience life with your kids that closely for all those years, pre-K through 12, it's just wonderful.
Wow, that is impressive. So you talked about, yeah, doing the announcing, the quiz bowl. I'm like, ooh, quiz bowl moderator. That'd be quite fun.
That would
I can
be.
definitely see you doing all of that. And I can, obviously you have the admissions and you schmooze people, you meet people, you give advice, you talk about what their needs and reflect back to them. So you talked a lot about what a typical day looks like at school for you, but what is a typical day, let's say on the weekend or something like that?
Yeah. Weekends are good. I mean, Sarah and I do a bunch of stuff together. We'll go estate sales, antique shopping, just kind of out and about. That's a regular thing for us. And then for me, I love to cook. I know it's a shock. You wonder how I stay so thin with my joy of cooking. But for me, I do love to cook. Got into, what are you laughing at, AJ? For me, I
I
got
love
into,
to cook.
hey, look, to get ready for this podcast, in the past week, I've been doing a lot to get ready. I had to lose 200 pounds to really make y'all feel like, but no, seriously, I like to grill. I'll smoke a brisket. I'll do pulled pork. I got in a couple of years ago, I got into shooting sporting clays. And so you load up your
Oh, yeah.
shotgun and, I hit golf, but I can come closer hitting an orange disc flying through the air with a shotgun. And so we go shooting sporting clays every Sunday. I'll do that with my father-in-law and my brother-in-law this afternoon. And so that's what weekends are for me. When it's college football season, I'll watch sports. When it's, Saints season, I'll hope and pray. And, we just, that's what weekends are like for me. I still read a lot. I always got a book right there by my chair and I'm always reading something. And, yeah, so that's weekends for me. I don't hike and I don't mountain bike. Shocker.
I want to add really quickly for anyone who's into genealogy out there, your wife is like that. She doesn't just antique. She is like almost investigative and really, isn't she?
Very
Like really,
true. Very
yeah,
true.
so cool.
And look, spread the word. If there's no other reason to go to the reunion this October, everyone should go just to talk to my wife. And
Seriously.
just to hear Sarah explain her true Cajun ancestry, what that
Yeah.
means, genealogy, all that stuff. I would pay just to sit there again and hear that. Yeah.
Yes, it's impressive.
Oh man, Jon, I loved hearing the passion for your job and what you do, and it just seems so perfectly mated to your personality. I mean, I think a lot of kids struggle with finding their way. How did you know that this was sort of your calling? How did you, you know, I'm just trying to think in terms of advice, not exactly advice, but it's just like, it just seems that you've found your path so perfectly.
Yeah. That's a good question, Charles. I know what you mean. For me, I mean, obviously people would, when I started at Santa Clara, obviously people are saying you should be a male model, you should be obviously, but,
Of course.
what I tell students today, and I've always told them, you study in school, and especially college, you study what you love. As long as you're studying what you love, then you're motivated to finish the degree, to do study what you love. And then the rest, meaning career and opportunities, it'll come. You just have to be ready to receive it and make decisions at the time. So I'm lucky. everything just kind of naturally worked out for me. So my advice to young people is to do what you love, and
Mhm.
as long as you have a passion for it and you're working hard at it, legitimately working hard at it, then hopefully you're getting better and you're confirming that that is a path for you, or you're realizing I thought it was a path, but it's not. And so that's I would be a fool to say anything other than I'm lucky the way things have worked out for me, and I'm blessed with the way my life has turned out as I sit here today. So it's not so much a plan. I know people who are juniors in high school who tell you, I know exactly what I want to do in life. And look, I love that. That's great. Good luck. Oh man, it's fantastic. But statistically, that doesn't always happen. And so as long as you're doing what you love, then you're moving in the right direction. I believe that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, hey, you came to Santa Clara from New Orleans, and you've raised your family in Louisiana. And this is the moment where I'm going to give a shout out to your wife and your kids and your brothers, Dino and Sean, and their families. And then, of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell Miss LaVon how much I love her. Miss LaVon, I love you. And when you watch your show, you know I love you. And you've been a treasure to me since I was 18 years old. And I spent my first spring break in Louisiana with Jon and his family. And it was a truly, you talk about the book of life. The book of life is actually the life lessons you learn outside the walls of school. And I learned more in a week. I got a PhD in Louisiana that week with the Berthelots. And I'm so blessed to have spent time with the family, and it still stayed in touch. And of course, I also want to give some big love to one of my favorite patriots and a great man, your dad, Hank.
There you go. Thank you.
What a pleasure. What a gentleman. West Point grad, a true patriot. And it was my true blessing to have spent time with your dad when I was 18. And then I was able to have Easter with Jon and his family a few years ago. And it was a real blessing for me to be with his family on Easter Sunday in New Orleans. And I can't say enough good things. So, what does it mean to have built your life and family there? I mean, you are family. It's clear to me. I've spent time, like, I don't need to oversell it, but like, it is truly a unique and special place, and you have a truly unique and special family. And I just, I'm so happy here today, and just in spirit of Mardi Gras and spirit of Lent coming up. What's that like? Of course, in the Cajun aspect of your wife's genealogy just blows my mind. And you live in a unique part of our country and our history, and
True.
what's that like?
I love it. I love it. I thank you for all that, AJ. I'll tell stories about your spring break in just a minute, but the everybody lives in a wonderful place, right? You can make the most of whatever community you live in, city, state, whatever. And I'm lucky down here, the culture, right? There's a lot of culture and a lot of history, and it turns into a lot of things, meaning music and food. And, yes, it's true everywhere, but we're lucky down here to have it at the level where we do in Louisiana, in South Louisiana. And so, I'm very, very happy with the way that we were able to raise kids, and we love where we live, and there's always something to do. And, it's not competitive. It's just, it's fun, right? It's fun. And so the good thing is it draws people in. And so a lot of times friends from Santa Clara, other places around the country will be coming to New Orleans for a reason. And it's usually an entertainment or a cultural reason and an event reason. And so we're lucky to be able to meet up and have fun with people in our own backyard kind of thing. So when, imagine after freshman year at Santa Clara, not even after, during freshman year at Santa Clara, as spring break approaches, I mean, I'm going home, right? I'm just going to go spend time with family. And here comes the Santa Clara rugby team playing a bunch of schools, Loyola, Tulane, LSU, Southeast Louisiana, everything. And so AJ, if y'all don't know this story, AJ stays at my house, and I have photographs of the room that we stayed in the aftermath. And you got to remember, AJ, you remember this, Jim Walsh from Fourth Floor Swig, Ted Hashke from Fourth Floor Swig, they're also there. And so we had us a crew. And so AJ would go do rugby stuff, and I was the rugby reporter, obviously. And I'd go and write stories for the Santa Clara newspaper about rugby. Jeez, it's so funny to think of that. And we had a blast. And so when they're not playing rugby, then you're in the French Quarter drinking too much, or you're on a streetcar wreaking havoc in the city of New Orleans. And AJ has stories. He'll have to tell the rugby stories because though I was a reporter, I was not embedded, and so I don't have the privilege of sharing all the specifics. You know, we had a blast. And then, do you remember the dinner, AJ? I had an aunt. You remember Aunt Frances? Aunt
Yes,
Frances
indeed.
said, "Oh, you have friends in town? Well, let's get them coats and ties, and let's take them to this fancy place on top of the International Trade Mart, the Plimsoll Club. Beautiful view of the Mississippi in New Orleans and everything. And let's get them dates. Y'all had dates, and it was just this fantastic spur of the moment thing." And I look back on that and I think, how on earth did we pull that off? And we had a blast. We had a blast. And so, yeah, we're lucky to the joie de vivre that everybody talks about, right? The joy of life, and it's full speed every day. And thank God my kids get to experience. They're both living in New Orleans now, and so it's good. And I'm glad that you and others have had a chance to experience it. And there's some that are banned from the city and not allowed to return, but I will not mention Doherty's name. But just the idea of people being able to enjoy, right?
John, I do. That is such a vivid memory for me of your aunt saying, "John, I'd like to take you and your friends to dinner." She goes, "And John, make sure your friends have dates." And all of a sudden, John is on the spot. Like, not only you're on spring break, I don't have a tie, I don't have a coat. We go to a secondhand store, and we went to the Plimsoll Club, and it is as vivid today as it was in 1988. And your aunt saying, "John, make sure your friends have dates." And then John had to go to
That's so
Loyola.
true.
He had to go to Loyola and go call his girlfriend and say, "You might not know this, but you're going to be going on a date with Ted Haschke, Jim Walsh, and then this guy who, by the way, later I'm going to try and sell to the Lucky Dog vendor for 5 Lucky Dogs." So John was
That's
actually
so
using
true.
me as trade. He was trying to sell me in the streets in the quarter for Lucky Dogs. And I think he was trying to get 5 Lucky Dogs for me. And he's like, "I think he would work, he could work behind the counter for you and sell more hot dogs." And yeah, so, and the
And look,
Confederacy of
I
Dunces,
was
right?
undervalued.
Confederacy of
That's the
Dunces,
truth.
right?
That's what I was
Yep.
thinking.
I was
That's so
undervaluing
good.
you, AJ. I was undervaluing you. You're worth at least 10 Lucky Dogs.
I have a memory with you and Doherty in the French Quarter getting him to eat a lucky dog. I think that was his plan.
Oh man, so
Um,
many good stories. And Honkamp, you remember Mike Honkamp in
oh
the
yeah,
French Quarter?
yes.
Man, you talk about fun. My Lord. And so Mardi Gras, the people that came not on that spring break trip, but for Mardi Gras, I'm talking Dave DeBono, Dave McDonough, Honkamp. Man, I mean, certainly
Fun
Doherty,
time.
Height, Dano, Boyd, Sue Burkert, the people that have passed through Mardi Gras, and
That's
you
a
get
fun
to have
time.
fun with them in your own city, right? I mean,
Yeah.
just cannot beat that. Cannot beat that.
Um, I was
Middlemist, Scott Middlemist. Oh
Oh yeah.
man, you talk about fun. Look, I'm not going to get into the details. I know we're running low on time, but Middlemist, I had so much fun with Middlemist. I knew what the night was going to be like with Middlemist. And so when we were leaving the house completely sober, I made sure that Middlemist wrote my address on a piece of paper, put it in a Ziploc, and put it under his sock in his shoe on each foot, so that when we got separated and when he had to go back to my house and he would have no memory of address, we at least had a foolproof plan, and it didn't work. But anyway, it's just so fun.
I always tell people, don't go to Mardi Gras unless you're like good at figuring out how to get
No,
yourself,
yeah, if
back
you're going to lose
somewhere.
both of your
Yeah.
shoes, there's no
Yeah.
hope.
And all your people. I was really lucky when Annie came with me to Parents Weekend. We were lucky to meet up with you and Sarah and meet Dom as he was starting law school. So now that you have them both in New Orleans, what's that like? The adult relationship you get to have with your kids. How are you enjoying that season?
Yeah, it's great, man. It's great. So, the just the joy of having adult children that you enjoy being around and they enjoy being around you. So it's wonderful. So they see each other regularly. Dominic lives downtown New Orleans, works at a law firm. Isabel is Carrie. She was just admitted to the PhD program at Tulane, by the way, in the biomedical science school of medicine
Amazing.
program. Yeah, so
Congrats.
she'll be a lab researcher kind of thing. But anyway, having them both there, my mother still lives there. My dad passed away in 2016. But having them both there, my older brother moved back to New Orleans, so Dean's there. We visit, we go down there. It's just great. It's great that they're close enough where you can really be a part of their lives, not just on a phone or a Zoom call. And it's great. Isabel made king cakes this year, baked some king cakes and was delivering them to everybody. So it's you couldn't ask for anything better, that's for sure.
That's awesome. I did something a little unprecedented. I've had your friends give me a couple call-in questions. I'm just going to tell you one. Doherty said to ask you about your white poncho.
Doherty, the name rings a bell. Doherty, wasn't he a John Doherty?
Think so.
Yeah.
I think he was in student council or something.
But I didn't vote for him. I'll put that out there right now. I'm not going to force you all to admit it too. But again, I question the validity of that election. But yeah, so there was a poncho, and I still own the poncho, and I should have worn it for the interview.
Excellent. I did not remember until he asked that.
We would also be remiss if you did not. We also had another call-in question. I mean, it's interesting you're getting all these call-in questions. Does the 3-letter word OED mean anything to you? OED. We were told that you would know what that was.
The Oxford English Dictionary.
There
I'll tell you that story. Sage Baker, love it, love it, love it. So when I was in high school, we had a legendary teacher at Jesuit New Orleans, and he would always, if you didn't know a word, or if you misspelled a word or whatever, Mr. McGannon would tell you, go get the OED, and he'd make you look it up, and he kept one in his classroom. And so we talked about it a lot. So for my birthday, the summer before I left for Santa Clara, I received the OED as a gift, the compact edition of the Oxford English Dictionary. Compact, so it's like that, but you need a magnifying glass to look up the words because they're microscopic, right? And so for Sage, here's the compact edition of the OED, and
That's
I highly
amazing.
recommend it for fun reading.
Amazing.
Yeah. And look, I brought it to Santa Clara. I was probably the only freshman in Swig with the compact edition of the OED.
That's
But
amazing.
hey, as a result, I have never misspelled a word or not known the meaning of a certain word in the English language.
Brilliant.
Excellent.
That is amazing. Well, Jon, you've taken us through quite an adventure of your life, from being 3 years at Swig, the earthquake for a boy from Louisiana, and then in the dorms, you met your wife, and then, your 2 children who live near you. That's fantastic. And your day-to-day activities. Through all of this, is there like a particular turning point or a challenge you're particularly proud of or sticks out for you that you wouldn't mind sharing with the group?
Let me think about that. Turning points. Part of when Charles had asked earlier, you didn't necessarily plan out your life, and so things take turning points. For me, the challenges in my life have been the losses. When you lose a beloved family member, and like I said, I lost my father. I know some of y'all have experienced losing a parent, but the losses, the grief, and the disruption are certainly challenges. And for me, they stick out, and I would just have to, when I think of challenges. Everybody has their challenges in life and situations and health and things like that. But the continual battles, when you wake up in the morning, you got to carry that heavy load with you to figure out, I'm going to carry it all day, but I'm going to be able to carry it. I just got to find a way to do it. I would say those are the challenges, and there are certainly ways to get through it, and your family and your faith and your own mindset about the world and how things work and why things work. That's how I would answer that, Mike. I respect any way people find the way to get through the challenges that come up in their lives, and there's a variety of them that pop up for everyone. But that's how I answer that. That's how I answer that.
Thank you, Jon.
So, Jon, I can tell you are a man of intense passions, and you mentioned clay pigeon shooting. Is there anything else outside of work that you are really you find really passionate now about any hobbies or things that you're really into now?
I do love to read, and so, nobody can say they're passionate about reading. That sounds so nerdy, it's unbelievable. But, I just enjoy it so much, and it opens up a whole bunch of different things, discussions and whatnot. So I do love reading. The sporting clays hobby is fun for me, and that I do spend time doing that. I wanna get better. Whenever we get together as a Santa Clara group, the majority of people go play golf, and believe me,
Yeah.
I've tried it. I've sat in the cart with Dice and Height and Dano and Doherty and everybody, Boyd, and I've watched them be able to hit that ball and make it go where they want it to go, and it's pretty impressive. But, I just was not given that gift. And so for me, the hobbies, I don't have other hobbies. Let me make sure I'm saying that right. Because when I was in Santa Clara, shooting pool was a hobby. I would shoot a lot of pool. At
Oh
home, we had
yeah.
a table in New Orleans, and so that was fun, but I don't do that anymore. After you beat Dano so many times, you just what else is there? If family is a passion and a hobby, then that's number one for me.
That's cool.
And, yeah, the things doing together, yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely a big one for me.
How did you get into clay pigeon shooting? Did somebody bring you into it, or you just had an interest in
Yeah,
it?
somebody brought me into it. So I'd always, I didn't grow up hunting either. I mean, we were city kids, so my friends would talk about going duck hunting or deer hunting, and it was something that I didn't do growing up. I had an aunt that took me deer hunting once, Aunt Frances' sister,
And
Jacob, my Aunt Dora.
Francis,
She took me deer hunting. But anyway, um, so I'm in the Rotary Club in Lafayette, and as a member of the club had this little event where he invited people to come. He wanted to introduce them to sporting clays. And so I went just out of interest, and I loved the idea. And so I didn't own a shotgun or anything. So from there, it was that seed was planted. And so I wanted to learn more and practice. And believe me, I'm not good. So I don't want y'all to think that you'll see me in the Olympics next time it's the season. But that that's how I got into that. And it's fun just to go with people because everybody could try. You put the gun up against your shoulder and see if you can hit it. And you can stand there and shoot the same one 100 times and see how many times you can hit it. But that's what I enjoy. It's fun.
Oh, that's great. A little community activity is really fantastic.
so hey, by the way, if you come out, let's go clay shooting because I'm in the same boat as you, actually. But
Yeah.
Kleiner want to come shoot clays? Like,
I
John,
do.
I too,
Sure.
and Carrie's in. I'll tell you what, my
Good.
wife and I, there's a club here that we've been lucky enough to go and shoot,
That
and
sounds fun.
it's way better than golf. It's only 2.5 hours. It's similar that you kind of go shooting stand to shooting stands like tee box to tee box. And
Yeah.
there's a very good club here, and maybe we'll go out and shoot clays before or after the reunion.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll talk.
Well,
But I
you
love
told
it.
me about it when
Oh
we were on
man,
that
it's
boat in
so
San
good.
Francisco Bay. You told me about it. Wings and what's the name of it?
Wing and
Wings and
barrel.
something.
Wing and barrel.
Wing and
Wing
barrel.
and
Yeah,
barrel.
yeah, that's good. And because it's California, you only got to pay like 200 grand to go shoot for an hour. So
That's it. That's
count
right.
me in, man.
Yep. We got you. We
The
got you
hard-
covered. Get your number covered.
Hey, the hardest part for me is going to be getting my shotgun in the overhead bin on the plane out of New Orleans. I don't know how they're going to allow that. I don't know.
What kind of
We can make
shotgun
it
you got? Got
happen.
like a Beretta? You got something fancy? What do you got?
I got a Beretta. I didn't, the people that I've shot with tournaments and things, they can really invest some money in shotguns. I don't have a crack barrel. I just shoot a regular shotgun. But, if you wanted to figure out how much money you could blow, you can really look at some good crack barrel shotguns and come up with some good plans. That's for sure.
You got a side by side versus over under or side by side.
I just have a single barrel. So I just have a
single barrel.
single barrel. Yeah. I don't have the double barrel yet.
All right, we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk. Hey, what? It is Mardi Gras. Like, I think this is more like the Tony Bourdain 24 Hours with Berthelot in New Orleans. Like, if we were to land right now in New Orleans, you can actually get 24 hours, which is not like a lot of other places in the world. You can get a
true.
full 24 hours. What are we doing in those 24 hours with Jon Berthelot? This is the route we're running, and this is the fun we're having.
I love you. I love you, AJ. I love you. So we're going to eat. We're going to eat because we're going to drink. And before you start drinking, you got to eat. And so we're going to eat. And it's a question of how fancy and how, what you want to eat. But in the 24 hours you're there, we'll probably eat 5 times. Okay. The the bars. It depends on whether you want to go touristy and Patos and French Quarter, and Doherty's still banned from there too. But then we'll go to dive bars. We'll go to the parades that are going on now. You know, you got to tell me whether you want to go to a parade that's great for pictures or a parade that's great for just the crowd and the people and the music. What marching band do you want to see? So, I mean, we're going to be on the move. If it's Mardi Gras, traffic is going to be our killer, right? It's the nightmare. And so, you know, the idea of even Uber or anything during Mardi Gras, you're pretty much not able to move around New Orleans like you want to. And so I would encourage you to come at another time besides Mardi Gras. But anyway, we're going to eat, we're going to have unusual cocktails, we're going to have strong shots, we're going to see people and meet people and laugh with people and have a ton of photos on our phone that we may not be able to show everybody we know. And we're going to have a blast. And on the plane ride home after that 24 hours, you're going to sit there and think, did that really just happen? That's the way Louisiana and New Orleans works, man. I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
That's true.
Give me three. Give me three. Give me three
Okay.
spots though. Give me 3 spots we're gonna hit. Like,
Okay.
where are you and I gonna go?
We'll go
you kind of know my flavor. Where are we going?
Yeah, you and I are going to go to Fat Harry's on St. Charles, and we're going to have cheese fries, shoot a game of pool, and drink some beer. And then,
Yes.
then we're going to go. Parkview Bakery is going to have the fried oyster and fried shrimp po' boys that we want, so we're going to eat there. And then, if we're in the quarter, you're not going to want to go to Patos and listen to the piano bar and all that stuff. So we're going to go to Fritzl's. No, we're gonna pick a place with a balcony. We're gonna find a place with a balcony so we can have an old fashioned and watch people walking by and count the crazies. So it's gonna. We went to Muriel's. That was the Easter you came. We're not going to Muriel's.
We're not going to Muriel's.
We're not going to Muriel's. No, that's too fancy. We're gonna go. Man, that's a good one. I got so many I could pick from. We're gonna go a place where you can overlook Jackson Square, so we can watch all the tourists get scammed somewhere over
I know where
Jackson
you got
Square.
your shoes.
We're gonna
I
have
know
to
where you
find a
got your
place that has
shoes.
a
I know where you got your shoes.
I know
Yeah.
exactly where you got them shoes.
I know you
I
got them
bet you
shoes.
$5.
That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. I've been to two of those places. My funny, I probably went to Fat Harry's because you recommended it.
Yeah.
But when Brendan and I were living there and we were both working like crazy different hours because he was at Charity Hospital, we would meet at Fat Harry's. It would be like halfway from where we both were on the streetcar. And one time we were like, let's work out. We were like getting ready to get married. You know, we we're a couple months away. Instead, we'd end up at Fat Harry's playing pool and eating cheese fries and drinking beer. And we're like, that's the
Yeah.
exact opposite of what
Yep.
we were going to do.
Look, I hear you. And
We didn't
Carrie,
work out.
y'all lived close to Cooter Brown's too, didn't you?
Yeah, we lived right on the
Yeah.
streetcar line. Yeah, we did. We
Yeah.
lived
So
in Cooter Brown's
Camellia
a lot.
Grill, Cooter Brown's. Yeah. We
Yeah.
could have some fun over there too.
It was a good
Camellia
time.
Charles, when are
Grill
you
for
coming?
sure.
That's what
We're
I
going to
gotta know.
Camellia Grill. We're going to
I
definitely
don't-
Camellia Grill for sure.
I've never been, so I'm going to need all of your guidance.
And look, Mike Klein, they have a nonstop. I think it's KLM offers a nonstop London to New Orleans. So look into that.
Sounds good.
We need a
Sounds
trip
good.
there. Okay, so we're moving into the Fast Five, and then I'm going to go see our friends. Okay, so this is where we launch 5 quick questions at you, and you simply say whatever comes to mind. So the first one is, and I love this because you told us you read, what are you currently binge watching or reading?
So reading, I'm in the middle of Into Thin
Mhm.
Air by John Krakauer about Mount Everest expedition thing. Binge watching, Sarah and I enjoyed Peaky Blinders, and that was a while back, but we just watched the first season of Homeland. And so that's the binge watch. I'm not going to recommend it to everybody, but that's what we're watching.
It's well done.
Awesome. So, movie quote that comes to mind without even thinking about it. Movie quote.
Man, that's so good. So for Middle Mist, I could throw out a Heartbreak Ridge quote. For Fletch, Fourth Floor Swig was a lot of Fletch. Let me think. I'm gonna go with Fletch. I'm gonna go with can I borrow your towel? My car just hit a water buffalo.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Fletch is a
All right.
classic.
Number 3. Do you have and what is your go-to karaoke song?
Folsom Prison, Johnny Clap.
Ooh, good one.
Shot him in
Yeah.
Reno.
Just to watch him die.
Just to watch him die.
That was
Hey,
awesome.
if you weren't in education, skills do not matter. Talent does not matter. What's another career you might have given a shot at?
Well, other than the male model, I could probably, let's see, I could be a concierge at a fancy hotel. I could make a run in stand-up comedy just to prove to myself that I could spend a year doing that. I could be a taxi driver. That would be a lot of fun too.
Oh, that'd be so good. All right, number 5. What's your favorite Mardi Gras parade?
Wow. On Mardi Gras Day or just in the whole 2-week season?
The whole
Anytime?
season. The whole season.
Man, if you see, you have to know the details. So Zulu, because you can catch a coconut, but
Yes.
other than that, Mardi Gras Day, Endymion, it's got to be Endymion.
Yeah.
They really
that's a good
do a
one.
lot. You know, Harry Connick started Orpheus years back. That's his own. He started up that parade, and they have really beautiful floats and all that kind of stuff. So it'd be one of those, Carrie. It'd be one of those. And look, AJ mentioned Harry Connick Jr. early on. So he graduated a few years ahead of me in Jesuit New Orleans. And there were several of us on the football team that he asked, because Harry didn't play football, he asked if we could help him move an upright piano down a spiral staircase so that he could play it for his sister's wedding. So at the time, it was just this older guy at Jesuit asking us for help. But nowadays, it's like, I don't know if he ever paid me. So I'll have to ask Harry next time I see him if with interest and all that, how that would work.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're wrapping up. We're coming close to the end. It's been a wonderful time. It's catching up with you is awesome, John. It's definitely why we do this podcast. So it's lovely to have you on board. And this is something we like to ask everyone. Is there a piece of advice you would give your graduating self from Santa Clara?
Graduating self. Piece of advice. So I'm thinking back to that graduating self. Because I knew I was moving back here. What would I say? Maximize your time with your family. Maximize your time with your family. Hug them tight. Write the grandparents letters. Go visit the uncles and aunts. Hug your parents tight. All that kind of stuff. Because at the time when you graduate, you feel like, okay, now the gate's open and I'm moving fast. Right?
Yeah.
This horse is running. And sometimes you'll forget. I believe you're just not able to think of it at the time. With all the wisdom that I have now, that's what I would tell my graduating self is appreciate all of it, because I appreciate it. It's just the time you get to spend, maximize it.
Nice.
Awesome. So with the kids out of the house, what are you looking forward to now?
New recipes for sure.
All right.
Sarah and I, we do these little trips. We'll take maybe 3 times a year. We'll get in the car and drive within a 7-hour range. We'll pick a direction and go someplace new. So I look forward to those kind of experiences, travel. People I know, and I don't know if any of you are in this category, they're starting to use that R word, retire. I haven't quite looked into OED to figure out what that means yet. But, I look forward to the day when we can just travel a little more, go to places we have not been, introduce each other to new things. So yeah, I look forward to that. And look, Mike, I'll tell you along the topic of travel. So the school where I work, the culminating experience, the senior trip for our group is London, Paris, and Canterbury.
Oh, nice.
I have chaperoned that trip 4 times. And so
Wow.
the most recent was 2 years ago. And if you were in London then, had I known, believe me, we'd have connected. But if I ever get over there, I will definitely let you know if you're going to be in the area.
Please do.
I'd love to see you over there in England, because I could speak that language too.
Yeah. Very well. Very well.
Hey, John,
Awesome.
John, you know what? You know what word I bet is not in the OED? Yat. I bet yat's not in the OED, John.
Well,
I
yeah,
know.
it's not in the
Where's
OED.
it at?
And AJ, they misspelled Darlin. Darlin.
So this is the moment in the show where if you got anything that you want to give a shout out to the class of 91 and say, where you at? I think this is the moment where you can give a little shout out to who you want to see at the reunion and, where you at.
Man, that's so good. Yeah, there's a lot of people. I really wish I knew where they were and I could connect with them and I could drag them to reunion, because that's the people I want to sit down with. So my roommate Elix Villafuerte, and I were great friends for those years at Santa Clara. And then he went back to Hawaii and I believe doing accounting stuff, and I miss him. So I'll shout out to Elix, all of my English people. Dave McDonough has to get on a plane. And Charles, he's not far from you. You need to get in touch with McDonough and drag him out to reunion. But yeah, all the people that I knew from English classes or from residence halls, the RAs that were with me, everybody, the purpose of a reunion is just to get together again and say, hey man, I have these memories of you, and it's so good that I spent those years with you at Santa Clara. It doesn't have to be, I remember everything about you. It's just the idea that we all finished together and graduated, walked across that stage. We need to be able to reunite on that campus and just tell stories and just laugh. The last, man, do I have a second to tell this story?
Of
Sure.
course.
Sure.
So the last time I was out in Santa Clara, a guy that I met at orientation before school started, that was the only time I really met him. We didn't live in the dorms together. I didn't remember his name, all that stuff. I bumped into him at reunion, and he told me this story from orientation day. We were in the same group, and he told me this story. It was the funniest thing. So he said we were getting a tour of the campus, and as we walked past the church, they pointed out the Indian burial ground, and they made it clear that no one's allowed in there. Well, he says, and I don't remember this, that I turned to him and I said, 2 a.m., we're there. And so we laughed about it. He said, you were serious. Like, they just said we can't go in there at 2 a.m. Meet me here. We're going to run through Mission Guard. We're going to run through the graveyard. And so, look, at reunion, he told me that. We laughed. We visited. Well, look, after a couple of cocktails, guess what he and I did?
No.
Stupidest thing. And I sprained my ankle.
Oh my God.
God, just stupid. But anyway, those are the reasons to go to reunion, to remember, to visit, to call a professor and say, hey, look, are you going to be around? So that's what we got to do, y'all. Got to keep it going.
No bad
Awesome.
idea gets wasted. No bad idea ever gets thrown away. It just gets back
So
pocketed.
true.
Well done. Well done.
Oh man, Jon, this has been delightful. You're our most charming guest, and thank you so much for taking time during Mardi Gras to come and talk with us. Thank you so much.
Look, I'm so glad y'all are doing this. Thank you for the work you put into it and the ideas behind it. And let's get perfect attendance on this podcast, because I want to hear about everybody.
Awesome.
All right.
That's fantastic. It's been really good to catch up with you, Jon. And I hope, next time you're in the London area, I can join you maybe on that Canterbury tour and catch up with you on this side.
Awesome. And look, I have one more story. I just remembered 1993, Steve Nash and the basketball team are playing in the NCAA tournament, and they upset Arizona. Do y'all remember that?
I
Yep.
remember that. Yeah.
Okay. Look, I'm not a huge basketball fan, nothing like that. So I graduated in 91. It's 93. I'm in Lafayette, Louisiana at a party with a bunch of people, and it's on the TV. And so they're watching, and a bunch of them wanted Arizona to win just because that's what everybody thought was going to happen. And so as the game's getting finished, I'm up there going, oh my God, this is great. And so we win, and I'm like, yes. And somebody says out loud, where the hell is Santa Clara? And look, swear to God, y'all, I reach in my pocket and I pull out my alumni keychain, Santa Clara alumni keychain, and I show it, and I'm telling them about the school, and everybody's like, and they're looking at me like, how do you know that it was so good? I'll never forget that.
Representing. Nice.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Good. Well, y'all, thank you again. Thanks for including me. I can't wait to hug your neck at reunion.
Yes, indeed.
Awesome.
Hey, Jon, love you, my friend. Happy Fat Tuesday. Happy Shrove Tuesday. Let's get those pancakes on the griddle. Give your mom a hug for me, please. And
Hey, do you still make your pancakes purple, green, and gold, AJ?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My kids are still making purple, green, and gold. And then I'll send Miss
Perfect.
LaVon a photo and say, Miss LaVon, I'm cooking pancakes for Fat Tuesday. Love you.
Perfect.
Yeah, just a blessing. You've been amazing. Hey, the reason why this podcast exists is because we love our community. We love our classmates, and we could not thank you enough for joining us today. If you like this podcast, this broadcast, please click it, love it, link it, send it to your family, send it to your friends. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. If you're an Apple Podcast, give it a 5-star. We've been having such a blessing doing this. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. If you want to send us a note or come on the show, please email us at crossingalameda@gmail.com. crossingalameda@gmail.com. Thank you so much, all of you, for coming on this episode of Crossing Alameda. And as we like to say, go Broncos! Happy
Broncos.
Tuesday, y'all. Love you.
Thank you.